I need help finding our daughter. On a family hiking trip, our 6-year-old daughter, Agnes, has gone missing. I've called her name many times, but there's no sign of her anywhere. It's your fault for not keeping an eye on her, my husband Zeke says coldly. You go find her yourself. In the middle of everything, he drives off alone. Wait, don't leave, I shout, running after the car, but my voice doesn't reach him. Now I'm all alone in the woods, feeling terrified about what might happen if I can't find Agnes. My name is Marley, I'm 35 years old, and Agnes just turned 6. She's a kind and sweet girl. Zeke, my husband, usually doesn't like family outings, but the day before the hike, he suggested we go hiking. He's the same age as me, and he tends to be bossy and doesn't listen to others, which has always annoyed me. I wasn't too excited about the hike, because my asthma had been bad for the last 3 days, but Zeke insisted, saying the fresh air would help. He didn't even listen to my concerns. When did he start talking to me like that? He used to be so kind when we first got married. Is this what happens to a couple after 8 years of marriage? The day of the hike, we drove for about 2 hours to reach the mountain. When we arrived, Agnes was excited. Wow, look, Mom, I found acorns and pine cones. She showed me the things she had collected. See, I told you it would be fun. Let's enjoy nature, Zeke said. I was glad Agnes was having a good time, even though Zeke, who usually sleeps all day on his days off, seemed unusually excited today. It felt a little strange, but I was happy we could spend a nice day together as a family. After a while, we decided to go further into the forest to see a beautiful view, but after about 30 minutes of walking, I started to feel really tired. Can we slow down a bit? I asked. If you can't keep up, we'll leave you behind. Come on, hurry up, Zeke said, and they kept walking ahead. I was running out of energy, and my throat started to hurt as I started coughing. My asthma could be dangerous in this situation, I thought. Agnes is with Zeke, so she'll be okay. I should just go at my own pace. Another 30 minutes later, I caught up with Zeke, but Agnes was nowhere to be seen. Where's Agnes? I asked. She was with me, but she wanted to explore further and ran off, Zeke answered. You let her go alone? I asked in shock. She's too energetic for me to keep up with, Zeke said. If you're worried, go find her. She went that way. He pointed toward a direction filled with thick trees, and the path was hard to follow. I knew I had to find Agnes quickly. This was dangerous. Agnes, where are you? Answer me, I called out, desperately, but there was no response. After about 20 minutes, I returned to where Zeke was, only to find him talking to a young woman in her 20s. Where's Agnes? I asked. Oh, this lady told me she saw a young girl walking toward the parking lot, Zeke replied. I guess I'll go check there. No, you should keep looking in the woods, I said, but Zeke left with the woman, heading down to the parking lot. I went back to searching the direction Agnes had gone. It was eerily quiet, and I didn't feel like anyone else was around. Now that I thought about it, I hadn't seen many people since we arrived, except for that woman. What if I couldn't find Agnes? Agnes, please answer me, I cried, calling her name over and over, but it felt like the woods swallowed my voice. Zeke wasn't answering his phone, and I realized I had no cell service. Feeling lost, I headed back to the parking lot. When I got there, Zeke and the woman were still talking and smiling. I thought maybe they had found Agnes. Where's Agnes? I asked. Nope, she wasn't here, Zeke said casually. I couldn't hold back my frustration. Why are you so relaxed? Agnes is still missing. Zeke looked confused. What's wrong? Aren't you worried? Let's look again. Enough, I shouted. This is your fault for losing her. Go find her yourself. With that, Zeke got in his car and drove off. Wait, you can't be serious, I shouted after him, but it was too late. He was already gone. I tried to chase after the car, but it was too late. Zeke was already out of sight, and even when I called him, he didn't answer. He actually left us here. Soon, the young woman was also gone, and there wasn't a single car left. What should I do now? The sun was setting, and it would be dark soon. Thinking about how scared Agnes might be, I went back into the woods, but even after searching for over an hour, I found nothing. My breathing was getting worse, and the wheezing from my throat was stronger. It was getting harder to breathe, and I realized it was pointless searching alone. Finally, I remembered I should call the police, but I couldn't get any signal. After some desperate searching, I finally reached the police and found out Agnes had been safely found by a passerby. I quickly hailed a taxi to go get her. When Agnes saw me, She ran to me crying, "Mom, thank God you're okay. Are you hurt?" "No, Mom, I was scared," she said. I hugged her tightly, and maybe it was the relief, but I couldn't stop coughing. Agnes gently rubbed my back. "Mom, are you okay? Don't worry, we'll go to the hospital right away." I thanked the police officer, and we went to a nearby hospital for my asthma treatment. Luckily, it wasn't too serious, and I started feeling better after using my inhaler. But then, Agnes dropped a bombshell. "Mom, one of Dad's friends told me about a place full of beautiful flowers." I was with her, and the next thing I knew, I was alone. I was shocked. "Wait, you didn't go exploring in the woods?" "No, I wouldn't do that." Agnes pulled out her toy camera and showed me a picture she had taken. It was of the young woman Zeke had been with earlier, and they were snuggling up together, clearly more than just friends. Could he be cheating? The shock made me dizzy, and I crouched down right there. "Mom, are you okay?" Agnes asked, worried. Still coughing, I told her, "I'm fine," but seeing Agnes's concerned face, I knew I couldn't just ignore this. Zeke wouldn't get away with it. I decided to hide my whereabouts from him. I turned off my phone's location and planned to stay at my brother's nearby apartment. Zeke didn't know that my brother had recently moved in there. From the apartment, I could see our house, but Zeke's car wasn't there. The house was dark and quiet. Where could he be? I took out my phone and called Zeke. "What do you want?" he answered. "How could you leave us behind?" I asked. "Because you're annoying," Zeke replied coldly. "So, did you find Agnes?" "Yes, Agnes is safe, but my asthma has gotten worse, so I'll be in the hospital for about a week." "Agnes will stay at my parents' house." "Really? You sound almost happy about it." "I'm just glad Agnes is safe." "Take care." Zeke's words only made me more upset. He was not only unashamed, but he was also lying openly. He didn't even ask which hospital I was in. He was probably with her now, planning something awful. I was furious, but I needed to wait until I had proof. Finally, Zeke came home late that night and left for work at his usual time the next morning. While he was away, I installed a small security camera in the house. I could watch the footage, including audio, directly on my phone. Now, I had Zeke under surveillance. That night, the woman I saw on the mountain entered our house. They sat down to dinner, drinking wine, and getting all touchy-feely. It made me feel sick. It was a good idea to take advantage of my wife's sickness and take her to the mountain. "This week, with her in the hospital, will be heaven," Zeke said. "You're so clever," the woman replied. It seemed like she was a subordinate at his workplace. They were even doing something suspicious there. I couldn't believe this was happening. I felt so betrayed, but I knew I had to catch them in the act. I quietly left my brother's house and headed home. I checked my phone to confirm they were still in the living room, then I started recording on my phone. I opened the door with a loud noise. Well, aren't we lively?" I said. "Why are you here?" "You're supposed to be in the hospital." They were caught off guard and couldn't even separate. "Help! Someone help!" they screamed. It was no longer a shock to me, I just felt pathetic. I called for an ambulance, and soon sirens wailed. Neighbors gathered outside as they heard the screams. Zeke and the woman, only covered by bed sheets, were loaded into the ambulance. As his wife, I followed them to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctor said they were fine and could leave. Zeke and his mistress were sitting on a bench, shivering, wrapped in only sheets since they had no clothes. It was so pathetic. "When did you get out of the hospital?" Zeke asked me. "I was never admitted in the first place," I replied. "I've been keeping tabs on you." "How?" he asked. "From my brother's new apartment," I said, revealing that I knew everything. "It has a clear view of our house, huh?" I sighed and handed them hospital pajamas I had borrowed from the nurse's station. I couldn't stand watching their disgrace any longer. They quickly put on the pajamas. "So, how long has this been going on?" I asked. "You've got it all wrong," Zeke said. "She just came to drop off some work documents." "Oh really?" I replied, showing Zeke the picture Agnes had taken. "This is you, leaving Agnes alone in the mountains to get cozy with her, wasn't it?" Zeke tried to act clueless. "She was gone when I realized it." But I replayed the conversation I'd heard between them in the living room. Both Zeke and the woman were clearly shaken. Still going to deny it? I said. About that. Zeke started, trying to explain. I can't believe you waited for me to be away to meet up with her. What's wrong with you? Look who's talking, I shot back. You're the one spying on me. Can you say that after leaving our sick child and me alone in the mountains? Seeing Zeke's lack of remorse, I felt my feelings for him slowly fade. I'll never forgive you for putting Agnes in danger. Divorce? Zeke asked. Why? How can you even ask that? I said, glaring at the woman next to me. If you're so well matched with her, then just go be with her. The woman tried to link arms with Zeke, but he shook her off and grabbed my hand. I was just messing around with her. I never intended to ruin our family. Honestly, it was painful and awful, so I'm breaking up with her. The woman's face twisted with anger, and she slapped Zeke. Are you kidding me? What are you saying? Enough. I said, feeling disgusted by their actions. You both are to blame, her for knowing you were married, and you for doing this. A nurse came over and scolded them, saying, this is a hospital, keep it down. They both quieted down, but I could see they still needed to do some serious self-reflection. You better prepare yourself, I said. I'm reporting you to the police for abandoning me and our young daughter in the mountains when I was sick. What is that? A crime? Zeke asked, sounding surprised. Of course it is, I replied. Yikes. Please, just forget the police, they both suddenly said, apologizing but without sincerity. I'm sorry, they said, but I could tell they didn't mean it. I bet that's not all, I said. I want the house sold, the property divided, and $30,000 for infidelity compensation. Don't forget child support for Agnes. Please forgive me, I'm sorry, Zeke said, but I wasn't having it. And you, I turned to the woman, who laid hands on Zeke, owe me $30,000 in damages as well. We can't afford that, she said. Not my problem, I replied coldly. You'll have to take out loans. Oh God, if you've learned anything, stay away from men with families, I told the woman. Please rethink this. Zeke suddenly dropped to his knees, apologizing, and the woman quickly followed suit. What is there to rethink now? I asked, looking down at both of them with disgust. No way. I'll be informing your company about this as well. Goodbye, I said, walking away from Zeke and his mistress, who were still yelling. I immediately went to the police and filed a report. Soon after, they were both arrested for abandonment charges related to me and Agnes. According to my lawyer, this was going to be a serious offense for them. Zeke and his mistress lost their jobs. I finalized the divorce and made them pay the affair settlement and child support in a lump sum. The money from selling our house was enough to cover everything, and I even managed to get a settlement from the mistress, paid from her severance package. While I was considering moving out of my brother's apartment, Ton, who had been so supportive, said, I'm worried about you and Agnes living on your own. Why don't you stay here with me? Taking him up on his offer, I've been happily living with my loving daughter and dear brother. With the stress gone, my asthma attacks have stopped, and I'm feeling great now.